What up, roomies? Some people leave the military trying to figure life out. And then there are people who take everything they learned and build something bigger than themselves. Today, we're sitting down with Jon King, a U.S. Army veteran, entrepreneur, restaurant owner, and a community builder who's behind multiple ventures focused on focused on connection, culture, and impact. John, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time to have me today and let me BS with you and your audience at the end of the day and share things I got going on and hopefully maybe inspire somebody or make them laugh at the very least.
Nah, you got this, man. Yo, the roomies are a chilled bunch of people, man. Like we just love hearing people's perspective, people's stories, and just like basically vibing out and just seeing what's up.
I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, man. So you're a veteran. What made you go into the army at first? Like what pulled you to that?
So we got to back up a little bit
Uh,
because I originally went into the Air Force,
okay, cool.
which is off my left side. That's the stuff there. Ended up going in because I went to look at college because I had an older brother. He was 18 months older than me, and he was already in college. So I was getting ready to graduate, and I was like, got a full ride, partial ride, whatever. So it's like, let me go hang with him for a weekend and see what this is all about. Man, 30 minutes in, I'm working on getting faced, and I ain't the
Yeah,
at that point. I'm 18 years old and I'd sneak a drink or two, but he was the one, and my other oldest brother was the ones that were like more pushing the boundaries.
yeah.
But after you watch two people get their ass beat younger, you're like, I don't want to have that happen to me. I know what happens if I back talk. So why would I go back talking? Like
You know, I'll feel you.
so so anyways, I roll into that and I went to the Navy first because I'm in the middle of Arkansas in the 90s, man. What's gonna pay well? Nuclear engineer. Well, the Navy's got one. Let's go check that out. I was
Facts.
on board, ready to do the thing until the guy's like, "Oh, by the way, part of this job is you got to spend 6 months under the polar ice caps."
Polar
And
ice
I'm like,
caps.
"Yeah," and I'm like, "You mean spend 6 months under the ice?" And I was like, "I ain't doing that shit. There ain't no way." Like, no,
Hell
I'm
no.
out. So
Hell
I go to
no.
the Air Force, and we fast forward through that process of picking the job based on the name because it was a huge title. Ironically enough, if you can see right there, it's a big 747.
Yeah.
It's a fucking metal can in the air instead of under the sea. So I still got stuck in a can. But anyways, gets the opportunity to my buddy comes home and he's like, "Hey man, you ever thought about going to the army and flying helicopters?" And I said, "Well, you got to have a degree because back in the day, I thought I looked into it. I talked to people I thought were smart. Well, lesson to everybody: do your own due diligence." But anyways, so fast forward, we get to the 10-year point, and he comes home and talks about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So in very short order, I've started building this package to apply for the army to go fly helicopters, and got picked up on my second look. I like to joke and say that they'd pay me more and let me fly helicopters.
Yeah.
And so I went on, got stationed at Fort Campbell after getting the Blackhawks at
Nice.
flight school, and then ultimately I'm me. So by that point, I was probably 12 years into what I saw as a 20-year career
Yeah.
and got stationed at Fort Campbell, which was fine. But they had me go into the Air Assault Unit where they send all the brand new pilots. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, I don't want to do that. I want to know when I walk away from all this shit that I've done something worthwhile, at least somewhere along the lines, right? I'd done 9/11 on the E4 and whatnot, but I wanted, now that I was personal touch level, I wanted to be able to walk away knowing I did something. So I basically argued my way down and got stationed at the medevac. And
All right.
ironically enough, that's where I ended up spending all my time. I
All
had one
right.
set of orders that I got changed because I just signed the ink on buying a house. And then the next set of orders got canceled because at that point they wanted to keep me for another rotation and deployment. And then the third one I got canceled because they weren't going to, the schooling wasn't quite going to work out. And I told them I wasn't moving just to move. I was going to retire instead. And
Yeah.
here I started growing my
You're
illustrious
fabulous,
beard,
man.
just like you. So yeah, man,
So
that's
how
kind of
was
what got me to the army and got me to this point. And I
so
don't know
how
if you
was
hit
it
mood or if I did, but
how was it flying the Blackhawks? Because they always like over glorify it and like I know those things must be crazy.
So I only flew I flew on the back of the E4 as a comm guy, but I flew as a pilot on the Blackhawk. So very drastic different jobs, but man, being a pilot up front is way better.
Nah, I believe that. And the Blackhawks look sick, so I'm pretty sure the capabilities on that thing is wild.
It's a great vehicle for sure, and probably my favorite model to fly was the base model that I started flying in, and they would take all the crap out of the back, so weighed absolutely nothing, had the max power available, and the intent behind it was to be able to go high in the mountains and pick up more people.
Yeah.
So you didn't take as much weight up, so you could pick more weight up when you got up there, kind of deal. But yeah, just power for days.
That's
Scary
so
power when you're a new pilot.
Now, but any cool stories like behind that? Like any? Because I know you said you were doing the medevac. Any like, cool stories while you were picking people up or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I keep one of them pretty close hold. Just because you asked me about it, I'll show it off. As I throw stuff around here. So these here I'll hold up are a couple of different Polish challenge coins.
Yeah.
From their one of their special ops teams and whatnot. And then this one here is actually a Polish Army medal.
Ooh, that's dope.
That I was awarded from the Polish for a mission that I did in support of their teams. And, working with Allied forces wasn't an uncommon thing. And in the medevac, you work with Allied forces, the enemy, if they're dying on the battlefield, we're there to pick them up. And for the service members, it's an assurance in their mind that no matter what, they're coming home, is the way that I looked at it. And the faster and more efficient we can do that, the better it works out for everybody involved that's having the worst day of their life potentially. So anyways, we were out at a forward operating base and doing our thing. And as you may or may not know, and your listeners may or may not know about medevac, it's a lot of sitting around, short-term, potentially long-run chaos
Yeah.
at the highest extreme possible, to then absolutely nothing again. It's almost like if you looked at a heartbeat and how some beats are a little bit higher, but they're all spiked and but they're in that rhythm. But medevac was almost like that. You could go from fucking dead nothing to then spike to nothing, and so sitting around doing our thing, and we get a call about a medevac. Well, as the rotations went on, the rules got stricter about how soon you could take off and blah 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 blah. Anyways, we finally get a take off. We finally get approval to go out, and then we're waiting and hanging out, doing kind of what you see in the picture here. Yeah. Bordering is what it's called, just hanging out in an area away from where we needed to go until we got final approval to go in based on having armored support behind us. And so we finally get that approval, and we go in, and if you've ever been out west, you've got those plateaus out there that kind of pop up out of flat ground, and some will have a little bit of slope to them, but overall they're very steep sided. So that's what we were approaching. And as we were coming in, if you can imagine it, if you're looking from a side profile, very flat on the top with a slope here, very, very distinct. And so when we came around, we were going to land in the middle where the GPS told us, but nobody was out there, and nobody came out as we were getting ready to touch down. So we're like, something ain't right. So somebody called for a go around. And when we went down, we went off the side and back around low and popped back up. And when we popped back up, we look, and one of the crew members sees the patient, but they're beside like a little mud hut right at the edge of this hillside thing. So we decide, hey, we're going in, but there's a reason they're not coming out to the middle. They're pinned down by something, or have been, or he's that immobile. So we need to put it as close as possible. So we go into land, and instead of just being able to land completely with all our wheels, the way that the land sloped and the way they're sitting, we put the rotor disc, a foot or two off the side of the building, and then the tail sits low on a Blackhawk. So as we're putting the front two wheels on the ground, the back's just floating in the air to keep the aircraft level. And so we've got the rotor disc right there. We've got that going on behind us. And so normally when you load in, you'd load in about waist level. Well, in this case, because of how we're standing, they got to load them up over their heads.
Yeah.
And like that's impressive in and of itself to take a grown person and put them over your head like that with all the downwash and everything else. So fast forward, we get them loaded, we dip out of there, and about 3 or 4 hours later, I'm sitting in the back by that point in that lull moment, like we're talking about, watching my movies, catching up on whatever series I'm drowning in that particular week. And so they come back and get me, and they're like, "Hey, somebody's here to talk to you." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I go up front, and there's a few of our guys standing around already, and there's a dude, and he looks short, mind you, and he's got 2 guys beside him. And in my brain, he looks short because ultimately they're fucking huge dudes that are standing beside this guy. And in reality, he's my height. I'm 5'10", so he's not a tiny dude.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking him eye to eye, and he's like, "You fly?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You mission?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You big balls." And I just started laughing. I was like, "Okay." I said, "I don't know." In my head, I'm thinking, I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm entertained by the conversation so far. So he basically snaps, and these 2 gentlemen around him pull up 2 bottles.
Hey.
One's a bottle of Jameson, Jack Daniels, and the other is a bottle of Bison vodka, and they're the 1.75 liters. And I'm just like, motherfucker. Here I am with an international commander, and I'm this W3, and I'm like, I can't take this, but I also can't refuse it. And I'm not going to drink it because especially where we're at, we're all out there 24/7 being deployed and stuff. But so I look over at the Air Force dock, and I'm like, "Here, take this and y'all do something with it." And so the dude's happy. The Air Force guy's happy because he's on an Army forward operating base under a foreign country's not control, but
jurisdiction.
They're running it basically.
Yeah.
And so on another foreign country soil. So he has zero oversight for him at all, mind you. Like us Army guys, we got people watching us. We're actively doing stuff. This dude, not so much, right? So if you've ever watched MASH, or your followers have ever watched MASH, and yes, that was even before my time, but it's still funny shit. If you could blend Hawkeye and the other guy, Pierce, together into one individual, that was this dude, man. Like he was great at what he did, but he didn't give a fuck about like he gonna do what he wanted. He's like, I'm in war, and there's something to that. And I was like, so what? He ended up going to the fire folks, who were also some of the Polish guys and some of the special forces guys that were on that fob that we were with, and some other folks. And they had a hell of a time. They enjoyed the alcohol because they could drink. Like none of those guys, it was okay for them to drink. They were under a different command and all that jazz. So, but yeah, I heard they were great stories. But yeah, when that guy come around there and said, "You big boss," and so what it all boiled down to, and why I ended up getting that, is because what we didn't know at the time, and you don't always get the full story in those scenarios when you're going out in those immediate situations. But apparently they'd been under fire, under small arms and like RPG fire and grenades or whatever they're throwing at them for like 4 hours. By the time their guy got hit, he got shot. And so by the time we got there, when we made the first pass, all the shooting stopped, right? The enemy pinned them, like they ducked down because they didn't know what the hell was going on. They don't know if it's Apache or whatever.
True.
So when we made our circle and we're coming back around, they got boarded, right? So they're tucked down again. So then when we leave out in a different pattern than what we went in, but they don't know that. So as soon as we go to move again, they're ducked down again. Well, that unit took advantage of that and were able to get out of that situation using us as their kind of distraction deal. So we ended up not only saving that one guy's life, but ultimately the other 3 in the team by giving them and at the time unintentional distraction for them to get out of there, and they all made it back. So that was why he brought in his small tribute was for his team, or for the life, and then obviously for his team as a small token of gratitude. But they went above and beyond and submitted to their country an award for myself and the entire crew there that was in that operation, to include the operators that were back at the control center there at the FOB, working the radios and stuff for us as part of it. So yeah, that's one of my cooler stories.
No, that's so dope, because it was like you went in there to save one person, you ended up saving a whole unit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's always dope, man. And it's crazy because those kind of experiences, like, normal people like myself don't have. So it's cool. It's dope to hear it. Like, you know, like you was in an Apache. You feel me? Like nobody, or Blackhawk, excuse me. Nobody really does that. You know, like I could talk to 20 people right now, and they're like, "Nah, bro, I never flew a helicopter." You know what I mean? But but a lot of people struggle leaving the military. What was the transition like when you transitioned into like civilian life?
It was definitely a challenge, but
Yeah.
one of the things that made it easier for me was the preparation that I put into it. And so if you go back to the original part of the story of me saying that 20-year career, at being 12 years in, I'd already made that decision when I signed the papers. Because I was like, you know, I do this is, I retire at 38, and being from Arkansas, I got a guaranteed house payment for the rest of my life. That's huge, right? So I had that my mentality all 20 years. So now I took, instead of wasting that 20 years, I sit and plan what's next, right? And no, I didn't know exactly what that was going to be, but I knew where my numbers looked and how they looked, and I understood and was able to even help others about what's the number that you're going to need to live on, right? What's the bare minimum that you're going to need to be able to feed you and your responsibilities? And then what's the level that you live on right now with all your expenditures? And then what's the level, if you were no shit king for a day, that you would love to have, right? And then that's the number you shoot for, right? That's your goal number, and that's what you set your level of energy and effort toward.
Yeah.
Only understanding that number is nothing more than a tool, right? And that's the key. People always get in their mind, oh, I've got to have a number, and I did too. In my head, I wanted to have a 6-figure job. And so when I started applying and networking and things like that, I aimed for that contractor role down here in Huntsville after I decided I was coming here. So I basically got an offer that was a little under that, and it was overwhelming to me, because in my brain, I'm still that young kid, that amount that I got offered. But I also had it in my head, by God, I'm fucking worth it. I want $100,000 even.
I feel that.
And they were at like 90 or 95. I don't think it was 95. And I was like, I even made it super easy for them. I was like, you don't have to worry about any medical or anything like that. So go ahead and take that part out of your offer. So now I know you've got enough to make up the difference, but I don't even give a shit that it's 100,001 cent. Like, I just, in my brain, I was like, that's the number. And it's crazy because in the military, with everything else, I was making more than that. But in my brain, I was like, that's the number. That's my goal. And then I learned over the years that number is nothing more than a tool, right? And I learned part of that in the building and running of my bar and grill that we have, that I run 12 hours from here. And in my brain, it was always that number. You know, you got to make this much a year. You got to make that much a year. Well, you know, all the way up until July of last year, I could have told you that I started at that 100,000, and I was well above that by the time I got let go from Microsoft. And that said, that allowed me to really throw my heart and passion into my venture. So I almost take it as a 8-year learning curve
Yeah.
to get to where I wanted to be when I transitioned out of the military. And I think I was still even ahead of the game a lot of times because I think we do a disservice to our folks that are following behind us of letting the people that are still in give the information on what transition looks like. Transition out of the military looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so understanding that step one. And then two, it's listening and talking to the people that are getting ready to get out and aligning them with people that have already been in that particular role and also are in the role that they want to get to. Because I think that's a huge part that's missed in that connection is, hey, I came out of that same career field and I'm over here doing realty. So let me tell you about how to transition out and now get into a crypto cyber job. It doesn't fucking correlate. Just because we're both tank drivers don't mean I know shit about the damn cyber world, right?
True.
If you want to transition from the truck driver job that we had in the Army to being a realtor, I'm your fucking person. But if I'm not your person, don't bullshit me by putting that in front of me. You know what I mean?
No,
and I think a lot of that happens, and I think a lot of people jump on board to attach to that because they see somebody that transitioned from where they came from. It doesn't always mean it's a good connection and coordination to get them where they're trying to achieve. You know, because at that point, it's self-serving. You know, they ultimately try and sell them on something or whatever, and that pisses me off. But anyways, definitely put the effort into your transition, do your due diligence, like I said before. And another part is diversify your mentors. If people are like, yep, I got a mentor, cool, you're well behind the power curve because you should have multiple mentors. You should, in my opinion, you should have a mentor in finance. You should have a mentor in personal mental health and physical health, you know, as a transition veteran and what that looks like specifically for you and some of the areas and impacts that you're going to deal with, you know. And sometimes that's as simple as hearing a fat bearded guy on a camera saying, hey, 10 years ago after 15 years ago after my second deployment, I went to a beer garden that I'd gone to year after year after year. I couldn't even step foot in it. I had to turn around and walk back 100 yards and collapsed in a ball in tears because I didn't have any control. I just collapsed because I got so overwhelmed in the situation, and I didn't understand why. I won't ever know, and I don't care to know the scientific stuff behind it because that doesn't matter. What mattered was at that moment I had my wife standing over me and engaging me and ensuring that I was okay whenever that moment was done. I knew that there was somebody there that could walk me through that and get me past that. And, you know, fast forward to being the guy that has had back issues through my military career, through the stuff that I just talked about, on pain pills, drinking too much one night, get an argument, things go sideways. And then I'm on the verge of attempting suicide to the point of pulling the trigger and not going off and my wife getting in and settling the night. And then calling the suicide hotline the next day after everything cleared and calmed and I was mentally more stable. To be told, drive 2 hours or call and make an appointment and drive 2 hours to see somebody. That's not happening. Let me tell you that right now. I called because I want to talk to somebody and not to drive 2 hours, to sit for 4 hours to finally talk to anybody. And I'm not dogging on anybody I've talked to therapists and my wife actually, and this was when I was in service, my wife actually said, you're going to have to stop going. I said, why? She said, because every time you go, hon, you come home more pissed off than when you went the last 2 weeks before you ever went there. And I was like, really? We haven't even got out of childhood yet. That's weird. So, you know, with all that said, man, the due diligence, the put the work in and understand that it's the consistency and the showing up every day that is going to get you to where your level of success is.
No, I get that.
And I'll start rambling.
No, it's cool because what I've noticed is that when you started your military career, you kind of had a goal in mind, right? And then kind of when you got out, you also had another goal in mind. Do you see that a lot of people have that, or a lot of people are like kind of a little lost going in and then also coming out?
I think it's a blend of both, right, man? And why I say it is because you have some people, and I use this analogy quite a bit because I've got a really good friend that it fits with him and I, uh, where he has to have everything kind of figured out before he will do anything, right? If
Anything,
there's
there
a
has to be a
10-step
plan.
process, he's got to have it all figured out, and then he'll start. And then you got individuals like me that have developed over the years of I know where point A is, where I'm standing, and B is goal. Cool, I'm going to B because that's the goal. That ain't
Yeah,
changing, right? So I don't. That's all I need to know. I'm going to start moving towards that. Now that said, yeah, if here's a straight line, I'm going to do this along that line until I get there, right? That's me figuring it out along the way to get to the goal because there's not a blueprint.
yeah,
Well, ultimately, it's going to get done and it's going to be right when it's done, but it will take a little bit of time, right? Now, doing it the other way, it's been shown and shown time again that one, most people won't ever start. And when they do, by the time they've got it all figured out and they start, something's going to change that they have to adapt for anyway. So it slows them down even further. So where I found it works really well is for me to be able to pair with somebody like that so that I can get going towards point B. And now by the time they figured out step 3, I'm right there finishing up step 2. And now tracking on their step 3, they figured out 4 and 5. And now that wiggle line, instead of going like this, it now streamlines like this. And we still meet and beat that timeline that I was even able to achieve in speed and quality.
true.
So being able to pair that mindset, whether it's within yourself or pairing with other people to make that kind of happen, is a big thing as part of that. And then
No, man.
another example I'll use is there's so much information out there that veterans get overwhelmed on which fucking way to turn. Pardon my language. It's like, hey, there's 4,000 people out there to help you with your VA claim. Cool. And now you
Cool.
got people worried about stuff coming down of an audit. It's like, one, it shouldn't affect you if you did it
Yeah,
the right way. It's not going to matter, right? So whatever evidence and all that was there, it's going to be there either way. So to me, that's one. Two, at this point, if you've already got a rating, the VA looked at it, the doctors put their medical license on the line, the VSO or the paid person or you or whoever have their name behind it. How the fuck? Like, there's 3 layers
yeah,
of people looking at this and say that the veterans earned it. Leave the veteran the fuck alone. Go after the motherfuckers that are professionals in that are signing off on it and correct that
true,
problem. You know,
true.
and all right, I'm off my soapbox on that. And then the other is just people taking the first node that they get for stuff. You know, if a veteran is going after something or a bit of information, they hit that first roadblock and they're like, oh, that's it. I'm overwhelmed. And there's nothing on them. It's just, and that's anybody in general, really. But
Yeah,
I'd say that's the 3 areas that really kind of cloudy the waters, if you will.
well, that's dope. Well, not dope, but I kind of get it because it's like that on this end too. Like I'm one of those people that if I plan too much, I won't ever get it done. I need to be
Yeah.
like you. I just need to like jump in the shit and just like figure it out as I go. And I always feel that that's kind of like the way to get like the most authentic version of myself to get things done as well. When I'm just like in it and learning as I go, you know what I mean? So
Oh,
so when
absolutely,
you
man.
so when you came out, right? What was like the first venture that you started, or what was like your path when you came out of the military?
So I first landed with a very small company. And when I say small, I was their first employee under their company name, doing Army
Nice.
contracting and got hired on as a program integrator. And as you heard in my story up to that point, I had great knowledge in Army contracting.
Yeah.
Zero, right? So they're taking a chance on me. I'm taking a chance on them as being a new company that they're going to provide me stability. Uh, Over the years, I helped them grow to about 23 employees and had the opportunity at that time through a mentor that I had when I first transitioned out of the military as part of my retirement, I went through the MSSA course. So I do encourage transition veterans to take advantage of the skill bridge programs and the internship programs and things like that are available to you while you're still in. You can go to these things for 18 weeks at a time and a little more while you're on active duty and getting paid for it. Take advantage of that fact, and that allows your runway to be a little longer. But anyway, so going back to that, I had a mentor from there. Fast forward, after 3 years with the small company, he said, "Hey, would you still like to do an interview with Microsoft again?" And I said, "Well, yeah, of course. If I'm going to get the opportunity, it's a great company, blah, blah, blah." So he lined up talking to his manager at the time. And then right after I talked to her, they did a hiring freeze at Microsoft for an entire year. So I sit on ice, not knowing whether I was going to get an actual interview or anything come out of it. So I continued to work at the company and whatever, and had transitioned about 6 months in there to doing foreign military sales, which again had tons of experience and knowledge in. But I helped develop that program for the government customer, and we ended up having, I think it was 9 folks, or right around 9 folks on the team for FMS when I left. But ended up getting hired on, did 4 years with them, grew the contract that I had from 140,000 to the first renewal was at 6 months, got them at 400,000, and then 800,000, then 1.6 million, and then November of last year, I got a direct contract at $3.2 million with them.
Nice.
And then, ironically enough, in all that, I had 7 different managers. A few of them that I didn't always see eye to eye. My next last one gave me a dissertation every day of how awful I was as an employee, which I found humorous at a certain level, especially when the documents started coming in of stuff that I had created. And she's like, "You should be implementing this, and you should be using this." And I'm like, "That's
I did that. Like
it's
was
got my name on it." And she's
like,
like, "Well, you should have implemented it sooner." And I'm like, "To who? We stopped using it because there was nobody in that job anymore. So who am I going to give it to?" But anyways, everybody's seen their bad managers. So I try and learn from everybody, good and bad. But at the end of the day, me and 8,999 of my closest friends got let go in their 3rd round of layoffs back in July of last year. So I took that as I still apply daily to different day gigs, just to kind of continue to get to that goal, right? Which is pay off the bar debt. Because open a bar and grill, they said, you'll make tons of money, they said.
I wasn't just about to get to gooses.
Man, we'll talk. Yeah, I'll jump on that bandwagon here in a second. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely fucking love it. But man, there ain't a day that goes by where I'm just like, really? That happened? So yeah, we'll have a few laughs on that one.
I'll believe.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just about to ask you, how did the idea behind Goose's Bar and Grill get came into fruition? How did all of that happen?
So still working at Microsoft, things are going well, and we had the opportunity to potentially buy a little piece of land down the road from us. And the plan was it had a house attached to it, and it was a former gas station. And I'd finally convinced my wife to let me do my little barbecue thing that I wanted to do. Okay. And I was like, winning. I know in my brain exactly what I'm going to do.
John, and before we go, how long have you been pitching this idea to the wife?
I've known her 27 years. We've been married 24, so I'm going to say 26 and a half.
And she finally came in?
Yeah, I told you I was a 20-year guy, right?
Yeah.
So after I joined the military and I started that 20-year plan, I'd already started planning what's next after the military for my next 20 years. So in my brain, it was this barbecue joint. I'm just going to cook good food. And it wasn't necessarily barbecue at the time. It was just I wanted to cook good food. And whenever the good food was gone, sorry about the people in line. Buy the prepackaged stuff that I got right here for you to go. And then when you see it so amazing, you're going to know it's even better fresh. So you're going to show up in line sooner next week. And that'd be it.
No, makes sense.
Just super, super simple. That was it, right? So finally got this land on track, and it had a little former gas station as part of it. I come up with a logo for it and a name for the place. It was going to be Old Smoke Brew and Q, because I was
Okay.
going to get my license to be able to sell beer by the can and do barbecue and just literally brew and Q right there. And so, problem being a safety guy is I got a slight conscience with me in my head about environmentals. And so, when the land purchase was going to come through, there has to be a safety inspection done on the property if you're going to finance it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know how much these things can cost. And I know for sure when you do that first one, you've got about a 95% chance that a secondary is going to be needed based on the results of the first one. It's just the way that the math works out. Well, the secondaries can go from $200,000 investment to up to $200,000 investment just to reclamate the property, to then purchase said property, to then, do the remodel and then all the things, right? So we get through the first one, of course, it demands the second one. And I'm like, I can't spend $200,000 on something before I ever get my hands on it.
Yeah.
So as that's kind of falling through, I get word of this or the opportunity to buy this business up in Papillion. Well, fast forward to the story, ends up being bullshit. The guy's trying to sell some half jank stuff. He doesn't own the building. He doesn't even really have access to the stuff and supplies that he's trying to sell, kind of deal.
Okay.
So I get contact with the actual people that own the building. They won't sell it, but they're open to ideas. So I pitched the idea of Goose's, which to me was a place that you kind of felt at home, but not so at home that you're walking around in your briefs.
Yeah.
You're more like your aunt and uncle's house, that if you get out of line, more than likely one person will smack you in the back of the head and
Yeah.
be like, come on, we're here to have a good time, don't get stupid. That kind of vibe. And ultimately it turned into a place that's got 40 TVs. We got 2 sets of 75 that make up a 150-inch viewing screen in our front and back room. We've got all sorts of different drinks from around the world, of different alcohols and things like that. We get to do fun events, and by that I mean me and the team that we're now building. And we got a skate expo collaboration in the works. We're going to do a mini skate expo out back. We'll have a band and have them doing their tricks and be serving drinks and things like that with guests watching. We're working through to do a mini bike show inside, so we'll move all the tables out of the way and have people bring in their custom built motorcycles in and show them off and let people walk around with a drink and look at the bikes and talk and BS. We do foam parties in the summer where we'll hire a group that comes out and sprays a bunch of foam in our back area. And last year we did it in July and had white foam during the day and then glow in the dark foam at night. And it coincided with a big fireworks show that they were doing. So all that was going in the background with glowing foam, like 8 feet high. It was awesome time.
Yo, Goose, sounds like a lit place, bro.
Dude, I'm trying my best to get it there, and I've spent a year going through some folks. And the first general manager I fired in last July, right at the same time as I was getting fired. Ironically, it all worked out. They actually came in. The power company came in that day to shut the damn power off.
Oh no!
Because stuff wasn't getting taken care of, and I was like, fuck. So we've come a long way. Even in the last month and a half, I've got a great new full-time general manager in place, and we've rotated the staff, about 95% of the staff out at this point in the last 30 days, and we're seeing a tremendous return on our reviews, on our quality of service, our feedback from customers, our overall, value return from customers, and it's really getting to be where I heart and soul, like pride and what I dream would be for the community. Because as you've heard, man, I love to have a good time. Like, life's hard enough. You don't need to add to it. So why the fuck, if I got the opportunity to collaborate with smart folks and understand it's not all about that money right that second, that it's about the value that we bring each other, I can do some cool shit, man. And
Nah, I believe it, bro.
I talk about one of the things that, you know, veterans come back from deployments and PTSD survivors come back from things and they look for that high again, whatever it was that brought them there. And for a lot of people, it's drugs, alcohol, abuse, violence, anger, whatever. For me, I found I get it in two ways now. One is helping other people get their win. So figuring out, I don't care if it's in your career, your life, your marriage, I don't care. Whatever that win is for you for that day, I'm here for it. And the other is whenever I can take it could be one person, but ideally a group of people, and they can be talking about anything, good, bad, or indifferent. They can be arguing with each other. They can be talking great about different things. I don't care. But when they sit down and plates in front of them, the whole room, pardon my language, shuts the fuck up.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I know I've accomplished one thing. And then no matter what they were talking about, good, bad, or indifferent, that they all agree at least on one thing. And from one thing, I could build a bridge. And if I could build a bridge, I could fucking get anywhere with anybody and take them all higher, you know. And so those are two areas that I've found I get my high is when I can get that involved. So I do barbecue competitions with gooses. I did one last year. We're going to do it again this year. Last year I did it, I'll say 99% by myself. I've got to give a shout out to Miss Vicky if she ever tracks this. She's a lady that came in last minute and helped me get the judges' gift bags all set up and the team bags set up and really put the final quality finish touches on an otherwise what would have been a good show to bring it to the next level and be a great show. And she's already got me tracking, man. It's great. She'll message me and she'll be like, "Hey, have you done this? Have you done that? You need to get on this." And I'm like, "Yes, Miss Vicky, I got it." Or, "No, Miss Vicky, thanks for the follow up." So she's kept me on track to make it even better this year. And last year, I don't know if anybody knows about barbecue competitions, the KCBS, but your first year to qualify for what they call the Jack is you got to have 15 pro teams. And because it's the first year, they generally don't make the full 25 requirement that is normally required. So your second year, you got to have 25 teams, and beyond, you got to have 25 teams. And the reason they do that is to keep it fair, right, for both sides. One, to ensure that everybody around the nation is getting a fair shot whenever they go to these competitions to get to the Jack, but then to give these starter competitions the opportunity to not have to get 25 in there, because people don't generally go to the first ones because they're janky, they're not as good, you know, and whatnot. So I got approved through KCBS, and I had my goal set, you know, for 15 was my bottom number that I wanted to hit. I ended up getting 24 pro teams and 8 backyard last year. So I only need one more for my pro series next year, which if I hit 24 by myself last year, and now I've proven that it can be done. I've proven the quality of show that I can put on. And now I know that I've got those 24 teams locked in guaranteed because they had a great time this year. All the ones who were doubters last year, they're going to be begging for a spot this year because I'm going for 35 pro teams and 15 backyard. And when those are full, they're full. And last year we brought an amazing event for the teams themselves. Yeah, we didn't have a big showing for people that walk through and things like that, but I brought in 2 food trucks that were local, small business folks that were just getting started. They did amazing, great food, great environment that they brought. We brought on a snow cone truck that was local there. She had a blast. We had a Goose's Beer Garden that we'll do again. We had live music there. And then ultimately we did a People's Choice where the teams got to donate any meat that they had left over from the competition to have people buy plates, and that money went to help offset the cost a little bit. And then any that was remaining was intended to go to my sister-in-law to help her out. And then so that was what I was able to accomplish, essentially, like I said, by myself, and no donations other than just me grinding it. And like I said, Miss Vicky coming in clutch there at the end. But I'm super excited for what's possible this year. And now that people have seen, like, yeah, this bearded fat guy is no shit. He's here to work
Nah, yo, John,
and get stuff done. You know what I mean? So
nah,
it'll be fun to
get
see who circles wagons.
Nah, yo, by the way it sounds, Goose sounds like it's the latest spot in the town. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
it is, man.
Yeah,
It is.
throwing phone parties, having Wait, the Jack is like what, the World Series for like barbecue contest or whatnot?
Yeah, so they got the American Royal, which would kind of be
Yeah.
considered, if you're familiar with baseball, be
Yeah.
similar to the World Series, and then the Jack is like the world competition level kind of deal. Is the way that it's treated, because the Jack is coming, and they may have them in the American Royal as well, but I know in the Jack they have competitors from all over the world that come in and compete based on the competitions that are put on in their country and or their city, state, XYZ. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My brother, he went into the Air Force and whatnot. The same one I visited in college. He went off to the Air Force after me, finished out his career as an enlisted guy and retired. He's getting ready to open his barbecue place down in Florida in December, which is, man, it's going to be fire, dude. They make some fucking amazing food, him and his mentor. But that said, he competed last year in the American Royal. There was 444 teams.
Yeah.
His team got 10th overall.
Nice.
And he did it as a part-time gig doing competitions and things like that. His brisket that he made, and for anybody that's made a brisket, you know it's hard to make a damn good brisket. You fuck it up easy. His that he did for the team got 9th overall out of 444 teams. So
and when does his spot open up? This December, you said?
December. It'll be down in the between like Pensacola. It'll be in and around the Pensacola area. And he'll beat me up because I know he's got a specific spot out there. But yeah, they'll be coming out with it and be rocking it down in that area. And then I just started, for me here locally, where I'm at in Alabama, I'm calling it bootleg barbecue. And the reason it is coming about is, you know, I love doing cooking. Like I said, I love doing barbecue, and I've nailed down my ribs, my pulled pork, and my chicken breast. I mean, I make a fire bacon wrapped chicken breast that
God.
just,
Yo, John, you got my stomach growling, and I just ate. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro.
Dude, it's mouth watering. I'll take and brine it for a while, and then I'll pull it out. I'll pat it dry. I'll inject it with chicken broth, and then I'll let it like after I'm done injecting them all, then I'll pat them all again, and then I'll wrap them in bacon, pin it in the bacon, right? Pin the bacon in the chicken. And then I'll take and do a light coat of mustard on it. And then I'll hit it with a light coat of my seasoning that I use. That happens to be my brother's recipe from when he won the Georgia State Championship years ago. He keeps tweaking and playing with stuff. I love that one, so I stuck with it. So I'll hit it with that. And then I'll hit it in the skillet. In a hot skillet to brown it on all corners and edges, and that also helps crisp up that bacon just a touch. So then it goes on the smoker for about 40-45 minutes. Pull it off when it hits the 160-165 mark. Let it set for 5 minutes. Cut it, serve it, and go. Man, I'm telling you, it is the best chicken breast you're gonna hit.
Yo, listen, all I'm gonna say is that the fat kid inside of me is jumping for joy after you say that. After you say that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that sounds fucking amazing, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Shit.
So,
but with what?
I was saying with that, you know, doing that fun stuff and starting to do that around the house, and I put it out on Facebook and Nextdoor app, and I said, hey, who would potentially be interested in trying some of this stuff? And I got a pretty good little turnout on it, on interest. So I was like, you know what, piss on it. I did some research and talked to a friend that's done some legit stuff in barbecue as well as my brother, and figured out some prices. And I said, fuck it, I'm gonna sell it at my house for a little bit and see if there is the kind of feedback that I expect. And I did. I'm doing that, and I'm getting, hey, that's 10 out of 10. That's the best barbecue I've ever had in my life, especially outside of Florida. I've had everybody we just fed it to had 10 out of 10. On top of that, damn, that shit's amazing. That's good. That's delicious. You know, all these. So I love watching the Moonshine Show and all the different things. And I was like, I'm essentially a bootlegger, but for barbecue. So I was like, I'm gonna call this shit bootleg barbecue, and I'm gonna do it until I raise enough money to do my food truck, get my commercial shit set up, and then have it go legit. But it's still gonna be the same style, flavor, and flair
Yeah.
all the way through.
Nah, actually, yo, John, that sounds fucking delicious. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm over here looking like, yo, can I take an Uber over there right now? That's what I'm thinking right now. But
So my next step is for anybody that is interested, and I'll include you in this, is let's figure out a deal that makes sense for you on a value of, I can figure out the weight cost of shipping or whatever. I'm not going to overcharge on shipping because most people do. That's where they really make their money. I'm not that guy.
Mm.
But what I'd love is for you to figure out, hey, I want to try chicken or ribs, whatever, or a combination of all of them, chicken, rib, the pulled pork, and whatever. And then we agree on a price for it that's reasonable, based on my current prices that I have,
Yeah.
and let me send you a sample, overnight it, because I could freeze it and I could
Yeah.
vacuum seal it, freeze it, and overnight it to you. And I can guarantee you when you thaw it and reset it in the stove or smoker or whatever at 275 till it's about 160 in the middle, you're still gonna be like, man, I want this shit today.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. You and me's gonna talk. You and me's gonna talk about that after
I'm
all
here
this.
for it, man, because I love getting that smile, man. When people come back and they're like,
Bro, listen. The one thing I live by this rule is that food is the first and last pleasure a human has.
oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And good food could stop wars and silence a crowd, bro. Like, I don't know if you ever been in a house full with like 40 Dominican people eating all at the same time, and you don't even hear music playing in the background. Everybody's just in their plate. That's how you know it's good. And I tell
Yeah.
everybody that, like, yo, good food is something that you should treasure and always remember, yo, and
Oh,
just enjoy
absolutely.
it.
And that goes back to the experience thing with gooses. When I talk
Yeah.
about, you can get good food somewhere, you can get good cold drinks somewhere, and you can do that at your house. You can do that, out. But at the end of the day, you don't remember that. You remember the experience associated with that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when people come into gooses, yes, they're going to get great food and they're going to get great service and they're going to get great cold drinks. But for me, what's the experiences going with that? Is it a next level artist? Is it a next level flavor that we're throwing out? Is it just our staff being comical because they're funny people?
Yeah.
Is it some crazy idea that I came up with to do some random drink Olympics that include not so fun drinks as part of it?
Yeah.
Because to me, again, it's not the getting drunk part; it's the socialization of when you're there at Goose's. So when you walk away, you've got a laugh or two in your belt from that side of the house for sure, man.
I got you, man. I got you. And it's all about bringing people together, bro. And you're doing an excellent job at that, man. You're doing an
I try,
excellent job.
man. I really do.
Yeah, man. And before we wrap everything up, I always ask all my guests this: do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdoms, or messages for the roomies?
Yeah, so I'll throw a few out there if you'll oblige me.
Oh, the floor is yours, sir.
So I'll start with my four F's while I undo my sleeve. And my four F's are: if it don't affect your family, your future, or your finances, don't fucking worry about it.
True.
Life's too short, right? If we all realize around the world, and this is John's big world dream here, that we as a human race have figured out how to provide food, how to provide shelter, we're able to provide that around the world to anybody that needs and wants it. And if that's done at a base level, anybody that wants anything beyond that, work your ass on something different. Doesn't matter. Build up. I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, the technology and everything else is there to ensure that those basic human needs are met, so that every human on this planet can actually enjoy the time that they're here while also still being a productive member of society. That's John's big thing. One is, if we all do a little, it lightens the load for all.
That's true.
And I have another one on my other side that's I'm not religious guy. I'm what I would call a faithful man. But I have a Bible verse right here that essentially says, blessed are those that have someone to stand beside them, and pity those that when they fall, have no one to help them up, is the gist of it. And those are two of my things that I live by every day. And when I look myself in the mirror, I also try and ensure that I've done at least one thing better today than I did yesterday. And like I said, always be looking for that win for not just yourself, but others. And really understand that we only get one go around. Life's hard enough with all the shit that comes out of the random.
Sure.
Don't be an asshole. Don't bring negative just to bring negative. And for those out there that want to be an entrepreneur, understand the grind is there to get that overnight success. Consistency is where it's going to get you to that success. And the last thing is, money is nothing more than a fucking tool. Figure out where you want to go in life and what you want to achieve, and get the tool to achieve that. Don't set that tool as your goal, because you'll never fucking enjoy life.
I feel you, man. And
never run out of your warrant officer coffee.
And roomies, remember, if you got a goal in mind, just jump into it and do it, because the more time you waste, the less likely you are to do it. And with that, peace out.